imagine for 1,000 years, torturing little girls by binding their feet as small as possible, breaking their toes and their feet for a beauty standard. In this dark and horrible era, a heroine was born. Qiu Jin. Welcome to the Hidden Women channel. My name is Fafa. Here is Musio Aramesh. Jojo is recording. Let's go. Qiu Jin was born on November 8, 1875 in Fuzhou, China. She was the second of 4 children in a wealthy family. Her mother came from a distinguished literati official family. She was the daughter of Qiu Shonan, a government bureaucrat. Her grandfather worked in Shama city government and worked in defense. Qiu Jin spent her childhood in her ancestral home, Xuexing, which was famous for female education. She didn't have the full support of her dad though, but instead, she had to do the typical traditional activities, doing needlepoint and needlework, cooking, obeying parents, and binding her feet. Her dad couldn't resist because she was so bright in the family. She was that bright that they nicknamed her Jade Girl. At an early age, she was able to learn Confucian theory classics, novels, poetry. At the age of 13, she could write her own poetry, and she was that good that her parents asking in front of relatives, acquaintances, she come and recite her poems. She loved when her parents were telling a story about ancient China and the heroines and heroes were protecting China from enemies. In her dreams and in her contemplations every day, she was seeing her as a soldier and warrior, very brave, protecting China and killing enemies, and she was a star in her dreams. About learning Confucian theory, she always had problem with it and asking her parents why always in Confucian theory women place lower status than men. Why there are a lot of bad things about women. They were big questions for a child, and she always was questioning religion and Confucian theory. Confucian theory promotes a rigid practical social order that subordinates women and emphasizes hierarchy, filial piety, and social roles, which historically women were expected to obey their father, brother, husband, and their son. But she was very smart. The classic Confucian theory really helped her in the future. She not only didn't reject Confucianism outright, but instead, she used its teachings to argue for women's rights. She sought to reform it, blending traditional values with Western revolutionary ideas. So Confucian education was a tool for her. She learned the system to fight it from within. Since she lived in the main port, she was aware of the thriving opium trade. What is opium trade? It is a dark side of the history. England and France were pushing China to buy opium from them. Every year, tons and tons of opium were bought by Chinese government. And if they didn't listen to the government of England and France, they were killing lots of Chinese innocent laborers. Qiu Jin was aware of this corrupt trade because she was living in the main port. Also, she was aware of impoverished innocent laborers who went overseas to work for foreigners. Even though she was born in a wealthy family, she was aware of starvation. She knew about the foreign missionaries in China. When she was a child, herself with her own eyes, she saw a lot of naval battles between the French government and the Chinese government in Fuzhou, China. When she was a little girl, she asked her mother, please let me learn martial arts. I want to protect China from the English government and from the French government. I want to learn sword work. She was dreaming every day that she uses force to right wrongs. When she was a teenager, she found a new nickname, the Girl Knight of Mirror Lake. So she didn't want the parents and relatives call her Jade Girl. She changed her name to a warrior. Her mother agreed that she learns martial arts, but under the tutelage of an older male cousin. She became adept with a sword, she learned to ride a horse, and she developed a taste for wine. She was so happy in this time, but her parents started to push her for an organized marriage. She kept saying, "No, I don't want to get married," and finally she escaped from the argument. But it only lasted until the age of 21, which was too late for a girl to marry. She couldn't resist. In an arranged marriage, Chujin wed Hua Thingju, a son of very famous and wealthy traders. During her suffocating marriage, she had to do a lot of things that she didn't like. She was forced to have wild sex. She was forced to have babies. She was forced to obey her husband. And if she didn't, she was beaten. She was living in a luxurious royal chateau, but she didn't like it. She wanted freedom. She didn't want to have children. She didn't want to obey husband. She just wanted to have freedom to write her poetry, protect her country. She wanted to be a free, liberated woman. Do you think what happened when she was living with her husband? She was living with her in-laws in the same chateau. Her father-in-law starts to have crush on her. He was summoning her to his room and he was telling her that he loves her. He told her that she is the most strong woman that he had ever seen in his life. He said that, but enough is enough. You should sit at home, look after your children, your husband, and me. You should be a good wife. She was feeling miserable. She was feeling devastated. At this time, she wrote a letter to her brother and said everything about her life. She said that her husband gambles a lot. He visits sex workers every day. And her father-in-law and her husband misuse poor people to do hard work. Wu Tianju, her husband, became aware of the letters that she was writing to her brother. He ordered his wife and the children pack up their own luggage and they all went to Beijing. In 1902, Wang purchased an official post in Beijing and took his family with him. Beijing was the site of China's humiliating defeat at the hands of foreign powers in the Boxer Rebellion in 1900. Let's learn about the Boxer Rebellion. The Boxer Rebellion was an anti-foreign, anti-Christian uprising in China led by secret society. They were very violent, superstitious, and regressive. They harmed China more than helped it. They were against modern science reform and rational thought. They didn't want women to have equal rights with men. They destroyed many schools and killed many open-minded women. We are in a horrible time in China. Qing dynasty, which was the big support of the Boxer Rebellion, the dictator regime killed many innocent people under the belief of nationalism, but it led to harsher foreign control. At this time in Beijing, she met a circle of talented modern women who shared her concern about the future of China. She found her closest friend, Wu Jiying, a very well-known calligrapher. They start to write papers and articles about women and liberation, democracy in China, and the independence of women. Her husband Wu found that Chujin is meeting very talented, smart, aware women. He got so furious. Hey Chujin, you are not allowed to leave the home. Chujin went furious, started to write letters to her mother and her father. She wanted to use her family's power to silence her husband, but it didn't work. Her husband was going too far and was not listening to anyone. When she was trying to sneakily leave the house, her husband woke up and grabbed her hand. "Where are you going, Missy Lady?" Chujin said that, "I'm leaving you." Her husband said that, "You are not allowed to leave the home." She said no. She got the first punch and the fight happened. He was beating her, but Chujin was a warrior. Started to fight back. She could beat her husband and leave the house. She sold the jewelry and went back to her hometown. She told the whole story to her siblings and her parents. With the help of her mother, she could buy a ticket from Shanghai to Japan. She embarked third class on a ferry boat. Japan, Japan, la la la, Japan. The history of Japan. Why I'm so happy that she left China to Japan, I'm gonna tell you now. Japan had successfully modernized in the 19th century, and while the country was increasingly a threat to Chinese sovereignty, it was also very attractive to modern Chinese youth as a place to explore reform and modernization. More than 1,500 Chinese students, including a few women, were already in Tokyo when Chujin arrived. Once there, she studied Japanese for about 6 months. She also adopted a revolutionary style to match her revolutionary zeal. She bought a Japanese sword and started to practice the martial arts. She started to wear a dress like a man, not because she wanted to be a man. She started to wear a kimono, not because she wanted to be a Japanese woman. She just did it to fight with the backward, rigid beliefs in China. She wanted to be a different woman to show that you should wear whatever you want, and used kimono as a symbol of China's future. Because kimono was the symbol of a burgeoning, thriving, modern country, and also was a symbol of China's future. She changed her nickname to Jingsha, which means power, suggesting gender equality in revolutionary pursuit. She was often dragged before the Chinese courts, which were underground, and it was illegal in the Japanese government, and she was questioned about her beliefs. She helped to organize a society for the study of oratory and gave lectures on revolution and on gender equality like many other Chinese students. She contributed to those cultural movements that were simplifying revolutionary ideas to the lower classes. At this time, she started to write articles against foot binding. Foot binding was the most brutal practice in China, and it lasted from the 10th century to the 20th century. This foot was broken for different reasons. Because I used to do gymnastics, ballet, and different things. I was obviously a very naughty girl. So I broke my feet. That was my choice because I was naughty. No one forced me to do it, okay? But imagine little girls that they don't have any power to defend themselves. They were breaking their toes and their feet as small as possible to make it small because they thought that it's very nice that women have a smaller feet. And still we have this problem in the countries. Women's feet should be smaller than men's feet. Why? Women should be shorter than men. Who said that? What is this backward traditional thing and beliefs? We should stop it. 2025. This practice was putting control over girls and women, that they obey them at any circumstances. It was for beauty standards. Who said that women should have smaller feet than men? Gesha. Gesha is a bad anti-feminist sore word. I say that. I shouldn't say that. It has sticked to my brain. I need to somehow get rid of it. Gesha. She was not only writing about foot binding, which was very popular at that time, and it became like a bomb in newspaper and magazines. She was writing about women's rights and gender equality and women's education. They were published in Vernacular magazine, which was a very popular magazine that time. At this time, she became friends with Tao Qingjia, a leader of the Revolutionary Restoration Society. In 1904, she got another big portion of money from her mother from China and started to register for training in lots of special courses. Japanese language, English language, geography, geometry, history, choral music, mathematics, physics, sciences, home decoration, architecture, painting, physical education, psychology and drawing. In her spare time, she strengthened herself through military drills and target practice. In 1905, she went back to China briefly to just visit her family and share some instructions to the leaders of the Revolutionary Restoration Society in both Shanghai and Shaoxing. When her husband found that Qiu Jin is in China, he wanted to force her back to the family. He couldn't because Qiu Jin couldn't be bothered to reply to his letters. Her husband changed his mind and said that we need a legal divorce. Again, Qiu Jin couldn't be bothered. She never believed in the laws and religion. She wrote a letter to her mother full of tears. I can't bear to see China in chains. I must fight, Mom, even if it means I leave my children behind. In the same year, she joined the Revolutionary Alliance in Tokyo. She became one of the heads in this organization. Unfortunately, the Qing dynasty became aware of the political groups and the political parties in Japan and warned the Japanese government, you must stop these students to join the political parties and going to this group and underground meetings. At the same time, they prohibited the students from the political parties and the underground meetings. Outraged, Qiu Jin and her friends and her colleagues went on a strike. The Japanese government ignored them and ridiculed them. Then, Qiu Jin left Japan to China. In a letter from that time, she says that, I want to struggle for the success of the revolution, a struggle without ceasing. Ever since the Allied invasion during the Boxer Rebellion, I have cared nothing about my own life and death. Even if I sacrifice myself without achieving success, I can't feel regretful. It's the time of crisis. The great work of restoring China to the Chinese can't be delayed. Up to now, a lot of men have already died, but not many women have. This is a disgrace to the women's circle. Upon her return to China, Qiu Jin began melding together her romantic commitment to the Chinese heroic tradition and her modern education. It was very hard to manage the demonstrations. Often students were scared or disappointed at the last moment, or sometimes secret society members refused to act when they were not well paid. On the other hand, the Manchu police were very brutal and killing, torturing, and executing the protesters. At this time, Qiu Jin was preparing to work simultaneously for armed uprisings and women's liberation, while teaching Japanese language, hygiene, and sciences in a girls' school. She encouraged the other teachers to take up the causes of gender equality and nationalism. The principal of the school, Xu Qiuhua, was an enlightened surviving spouse who had fled the maltreatment of her in-laws. She and Qiu Jin became close friends. They founded a popular magazine, Chinese Women's Journal. Qiu Jin wrote many amazing articles about women's rights, such as Warning to My Sisters, which was like a bomb in a society. She wrote to specifically women in wealthy families to encourage them to rise up and change rigid beliefs. She told them we should break this rigid and backward belief that men should have position of master and women should stay in the position of slave. Qiu Jin admonished women to rise up to free themselves by fighting for personal and economic freedom. She also urged them to unite in the struggle to save China, the struggle that always took precedence for her. Qiu Jin has an amazing close friend, Xu Xilin. He was very brave in China to work in revolutionary activity. In 1907, Xu Xilin went to Anhui province to continue his revolutionary activity. At the same time, the principal of the school asked Qiu Jin become the head of the school because she believed in her amazing educational knowledge. Qiu Jin accepted the request and started to do everything for the girls. Why not for the boys? Because girls at that time, they needed more knowledge to become equal to the boys' situation and status. She taught them martial arts, horse riding, and military drills. She told them that they can wear whatever they want. Of course, nosy neighbors became aware of all of these amazing and thriving rules, which was annoying for them. They became reporters to government and report Datong school to the government that they are doing something weird and anti-rules in China. Meanwhile, Qiu Jin was speaking to soldiers and convincing them to side with the revolutionary cause. She was encouraging families to let their daughters study as well. She established the Restoration Army, whose goal was overthrowing the Qing dynasty, women's liberation and empowerment, nationalism, and resistance to foreign control. But unfortunately, a spy reported her to the government. And also she read in the newspaper that her close friend Xu Xilin failed the uprising and government already executed him. A revolutionary soldier from Shanghai arrived to urge Qiu Jin that they are coming after you. You should flee. Qiu Jin refused. She said that, I don't fear death. The blood has to be spilled for the revolutionary success. She learned that the troops were on the way, and then she asked the students and the colleagues to hide. Some of them did, some of them didn't. After a few hours' battle, the troops entered the schools and arrested Qiu Jin and 7 other colleagues and students. They killed 2 students and they tortured Qiu Jin and the 7 other colleagues to death. They tortured them, interrogated them, but Qiu Jin never ever signed the confession letter that she was doing something wrong for China. She steadfastly refused to answer the questions and reveal the name of her colleagues. Then they behead Qiu Jin in Shaoxing. And then they behead Qiu Jin in Shaoxing. It's 2025. Still many aware women and men are fighting for gender equality. Even YouTube is blocked in China. I'm going to finish this video by reciting one of Qiu Jin's poems. Qiu Jin, 我爱你。不是渐渐买把大，地球环球也看好。一场弱水沉沉中，发球又能化比他。